with, I'm not sure if I have the name right, Kwak. Sorry if I pronounce it wrongly.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Please take it forward.
Okay, Mr. Chair, can I proceed?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's just wait for the slides to go back. Okay, good afternoon, esteemed colleagues and friends and ocean ambassadors. I'm Commander Kwak from the SA Navy. Regrettably, my colleague, Professor Ismail Teletsani, won't make it this afternoon, while in our Central African time, because he's in the Washington, D.C. But as you can see, we've got I won't say controversial, but something not used to type of topic, and that is the role of navies in terms of ocean governance and maritime security. So without further ado, I'm just having technicality problems on this side to have the slide move on.
You could
okay,
escape and all right, it goes. Okay,
there you go.
All right.
So just for background, we're all familiar with the Western Indian Ocean, and as we can see, it's a mass water body that needs to be secured and that needs to be protected, both for our own livelihood and for the ecological sustainable management thereof. So ultimately, then the role of navies and coast guards are very much of importance if we want a secure trade route and if we want to look at our marine living resources. And once again, so I don't know, there you go. So just from a background perspective, we need to take cognizance of the following, and that is that from a political point of view, there's very much inclination to a landward economy. We will know that Africa and the surrounding Western Indian Ocean stakeholders have got a history of being more focused on the landward side than on the ocean side, ocean economy. And for that reason also, there's also a very strong inclination, especially on the African side, to a weak economic growth with limited foreign direct investment. And that, of course, then leads to the fact that we observe an absenteeism or absent, or that there's an absence to limited ocean governance policies, be it at governmental level or cascading downwards towards your navies and your coast guards, who are in effect being given a mandate to protect these waters and to secure the waters, not just from a security point of view, but also from an ecological point of view, as a support agency to government departments as the Department of Transport or your respective departments of environmental affairs. Something that we also need to take cognizance of is the fact that survival of mankind takes precedence above the ocean and coast at this point in time amongst our citizenry, because they are not educated, they are not inculcated with the need and the awareness of how important our coastlines are and our high seas. Furthermore, also from a background perspective, we need to take into cognizance also the legal accountability and the jurisdictional issues that are involved in our high seas, especially in the areas beyond national jurisdiction, which then leads to limited transdisciplinary engagement, because that type of awareness doesn't exist. And the previous speaker very much or eloquently alluded to the fact that we need to look at collaboration and we need to look at partnerships. Okay. Okay, next slide. So the problem statement for today is a slow progress of Western Indian Ocean navies in improving their contribution to improve Western Indian Ocean governance by means of transboundary agreements through transdisciplinary regions, also as mentioned previously by the previous speaker. Yeah, my apologies. So objectives-wise, we would like to address a resolve on national and regional political synergy, because the political impetus, the political support is critical in an environment where there's a collective output or input and output that's required. Also, then we need to look at the increase and support of capacity building initiatives. I think at this point in time, especially within the naval context, Western Indian Ocean side, Indian Ocean Rim Association, and the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium level, it's something that still needs to be addressed. And then also, as the whole topic for today is to promote national and regional transdisciplinary research on ocean governance, especially at naval level. So the key drivers, without wasting any time, the key drivers is for the participation by maritime leaders. That's essential in the integration of best governance practices and the gradual build of trust. What do I mean by saying that? Is that we need to make sure that in order to build trust, in order for best practices or best ocean governance practices to take place, our political, our tertiary, and our industry leaders needs to come to the party. Furthermore, the political commitment, we just jumped. Political commitment also by the Western Indian member states creates impetus towards foreign direct investment, where finances are crucial, and then also the coordination and synergy within the judicial and jurisdictional system of the respective Western Indian Ocean member states is critical. The old saying, legal finish is critical, but arrest must lead to prosecutions, especially when we look at the green crimes that are now being highlighted in the media. Okay, next. So as a continuation of that, it is absolutely critical that we have or that we appoint maritime champions such as navies or coast guards, or in this case, as we're experiencing now with WIOMSA or WIOGEN, and their support towards this whole drive to ocean governance. Furthermore, something that not everyone is very much aware of, except if you're in a conflict area, is the civil-military transdisciplinary cooperation. And the previous speaker also spoke to how there needs to be partnerships and collaboration between our government stakeholders and our tertiary institutions. And in this case, we need to make sure that the military or the navy of the navies of Africa engage our civilian counterparts, and we get the best option there. Then also, of course, we need to look at the promotion of consultation, not confrontation. Okay, so to confront is not always the best way. Although our navies are seen as aggressors, then we need to reassure, not deter. We need to be transparent, not secret, as very much at the forefront when we come to military operations. And then we need to prevent, not cure. We shouldn't just correct. Be pro-resilient, not resilient. And then also, of course, the move from interdependence to we move to interdependence, not unilateralism. So yeah, that's just some of the key drivers that we need to look at there. Next slide. And then something that's been very much discussed in the previous presentation is also to provide ocean knowledge to all, to invest in building ocean literacy and awareness amongst our citizens. We always look at the undergrads, our tertiary institutions, colleges, universities, technicons, but we fail to acknowledge the fact that we also need to invest in our primary school and secondary school leaders, our young people. Also, knowledge, to invest in knowledge, technology, and skills is something that goes without saying. But not all countries share the same type of infrastructure. Not all countries share the same type of economic wealth or prosperity. And I think at this time with COVID, it's something that really knocks on everyone's door in terms of the economic influence thereof. And then also, of course, we need to increase Western Indian naval cooperation through initiatives such as the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium, the Indian Ocean Rim Association, and similar naval exercises and operations that have taken place, but that we need to increase in conjunction with our coast guards, our marine coastal people, governmental level and NPOs and NGOs. And that's the type of way that we need to look at the role of navies within the WIO. Okay, next slide. So to put all of that together as key drivers, we look at intersectoral integration, we look at intergovernmental integration, we look at spatial integration, which is critical at this point in time also. Also something discussed was the science management integration. And then, of course, we need to stratify the whole capacity building process, not only at school level, not only at tertiary level, but also at government level, to influence and inculcate our political leaders with the type of knowledge so that they know and they understand the critical nature thereof, and that there's a collaboration between our academics, our subject matter experts within industry, and then also, of course, government itself. Okay. So at regional level, there's a couple of challenges that we need to acknowledge. One of those are the national interest and political support. More specifically, the national versus regional interest, because each nation, each littoral state's got their own national interests, but that needs to be tied up with what the regional interests are. And we need to find synergy between those two. Then, of course, a lot of the landlocked countries and littoral states experience political volatility, not only at national level, also at regional level, within the regional economic communities. And I can just start by saying where I'm situated in South Africa, within SADC, you all are very much afraid with our political volatility at national and regional level. Then we also need to look at the coordination and consistency in applying governmental and regional policy instruments. There's a plethora of them that one can mention, but it's extremely important to make sure there's consistency in applying it, not just a once-off and hit-and-run type of behavior. And then also, of course, in the past, countries were much more inclined towards landward protection, landward militaries, and less towards the seaward side in terms of our navies and our coast guards. And that's something with the blue economy drive and worldwide attention being given to it, that we need to increasingly now put on the forefront and try and articulate the need for navies, not just to be seen as the aggressor, but to act in a more utilitarian type of position, or as a utilitarian type of instrument. Okay, next. So what are the other challenges that's being faced by navies? One of them being the organizational architecture. You will know that some littoral states only have a small coast guard, if you can call it that, whereas other navies within the Western Indian Ocean are existential stronger than what one would see in your less developed type of countries. And of course, because of that, your defense funding plays a critical role in making sure that the necessary infrastructure exists. Then also, of course, your available capacity at national and regional level jeopardizes the role and the mandate that can be given to navies or coast guards. And you will continuously hear me be saying coast guards and navies, because they need to work in unison. Once again, the terminology that we've been using called collaboration, partnerships, a multidisciplinary type of approach. That is basically what we look at. And then last is the infrastructure, the physical infrastructure in our ports in the different countries, littoral states, that's available or not available. And that definitely challenges the navies of the Western Indian Ocean. Okay. So the archaic thinking of navies as war instruments to a more utilitarian thinking of a cross-sectoral, multidisciplinary type of agent, acting as constituents of good order at sea in support of stability of the African coast, is what we're discussing here. We want to move away from the old way of thinking of navies, the old way of thinking of the military, and look at them more as the stabilizing factor and having more utility than just carrying weapons on board and shooting missiles or torpedoes. We're looking absolutely at the more support type of function that can be fulfilled not only nationally but also regionally. Okay, next slide. So what Professor Teletsani and myself have discussed is this type of transdisciplinary naval cooperation research type of model, which you're all very much aware of and au fait with. For the context of this model that was drafted, we look at SADC, the South African Development Community, and then specifically looking at ocean governance, the organizational architecture, capacity building, and interoperability. Interoperability, in other words, cross-sectoral type of approach, making sure that all navies speak the same tongue, that they're all au fait with ocean literacy, that they all have learning programs within their respective command structures at various rank levels. Then capacity building, yes, that goes hand in hand with interoperability, but the organizational structure needs to make itself available for that type of new movement, this new regional thinking. And then also, of course, all of that is based on ocean governance, on good oceans custodianship. And you can see the detail that goes with each of those four key factors. And the next slide, I'm just making sure that we don't run out of time. So from a conclusive point of view, improved Western Indian Ocean governance is directly impacted upon by littoral states or navies to align their ocean governance policies to that of the Western Indian Ocean region in support of improved maritime security. Like I said, it will take time because it's still, there's old doctrine, there's old policy still that's directly connected to it, but we need to look at a utilitarian type of approach in support of an ocean-driven economy and collective capacity building orientation towards improved maritime security and marine living resources protection. Because ultimately, navies and coast guards, where do they operate? On the high seas, in the littoral areas. So we need to take custodianship of those waters by means of our presence. And then the regional commitment towards an optimal mix of ocean governance policies options will allow each littoral state and its navy to consolidate experience and the respective national interests. So with that said, I would love to hear, this is just some acknowledgement to the literature that we sourced. We can finish there. And then if there are any questions, hopefully I can put some light on that.
All right, thank you very much for a nice presentation. We have questions, but time does not allow us because we have to run by the strict timetable. However, please take note of that question. Should we have space at the end, you can address that question. So
maybe you can answer it very shortly while I try to share the screen. I have the next presentation lined up by Jean-Ami.
All right, thank you.
I think he's here and will answer questions, but I'll try to share now, right?
All right, so please, you can answer that one question as we...
Okay, yes, so my take on this is how we influence political thinking to make sure that at regional and international level, our political principles understand the importance of marketing ocean literacy and the utilitarian use of navies within the Western Indian Ocean. So it's all about our political principles being inculcated and given exposure to a new way of thinking of our navies.
Thank you very much. I'm sure this is very interesting discussion. We can pick it up later on.
Thank you very much.
And see how